Greetings and welcome today to our daily Devo for Thursday, the 16th of May today. And today's devotion is entitled The Book of Proverbs. And the part of writing that Charles Dickens gives to us is from the Old Curiosity Shop. Again, unfamiliar with that, but that's where this comes from, the Old Curiosity Shop. The Book of Proverbs on this Thursday, the 16th of May. "Fred," said Mr. Swiveller, finding that his former adjuration had been productive of no effect. Again, old-time English here, hard to understand. "Pass the rosy." Young Trent, with an impatient gesture, pushed the glass towards him and fell again in the moody attitude from which he had been unwillingly roused. "I'll give you, Fred," said his friend, stirring the mixture, "a little sentiment appropriate to the occasion. Here's May the—" "Pshaw," interposed the other. "You worry me to death with your chattering. You could be merry under any circumstances." "Why, Mr. Trent," returned Dick, "there is a proverb which talks about being merry and wise. There are some people who can be merry and can't be wise, and some who can be wise, or think they can, and can't be merry. I'm one of the first sort. If the proverb's a good un, I suppose it's better to keep to half of it than none. At all events, I'd rather be merry and not wise than, like you, neither one nor t'other." "Bah," muttered his friend peevishly. "With all my heart," said Mr. Swiveller. "In the polite circles, I believe this sort of thing isn't usually said to a gentleman in his own apartments. But never mind that. Make yourself at home," adding to this retort an observation to the effect that his friend appeared to be rather cranky in point of temper. Richard Swiveller finished the rosy and applied himself to the composition of another glassful, in which, after tasting it with great relish, he proposed a toast to an imaginary company. I'm guessing rosy was maybe a glass of rosé wine or something like that. Read the works of Charles Dickens, and you are sure to come across many proverbs and proverbial expressions. Through his characters and descriptive prose, Dickens often offered wisdom to his readers, as he did through this dialogue between Fred Trent and Dick Swiveller. Solomon, son of Israel's King David, wrote the Book of Proverbs in the Bible. It is a book filled with wisdom about many topics. Solomon begins his book by explaining its purpose. The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel, for gaining wisdom and instruction, for understanding words of insight, for receiving instruction in prudent behavior, doing what is right and just and fair, for giving prudence to those who are simple, knowledge and direction to the young. Let the wise listen and add to their learning, and let the discerning get guidance. For understanding proverbs and parables, the sayings and riddles of the wise. Proverbs 1:1-6. The Bible says that Solomon spoke 3,000 proverbs, and that all the kings of the world had heard his wisdom. 1 Kings 4:32-34. God divinely inspired the book of Proverbs so that there is a proverb to speak to every part of our lives. It is a book that we can read again and again and still find new wisdom for our present circumstances. Open up the book of Proverbs and search out a bit of wisdom for yourself today. The last quote here comes from 1 Kings chapter 4, but verse 29. And God gave Solomon wisdom and exceedingly great understanding and largeness of heart like the sand on the seashore. Wisdom, God's wisdom, is the best way to live. The book of Proverbs it's very practical in some places and kind of difficult in other places, but relationships, priorities, pursuits, the book of Proverbs cover all those kind of things and more about our lives. And sometimes they're just a verse in a chapter of Proverbs. There's one or maybe two verses that go together, and then he moves on to something else, covering maybe the same subject, but from a different angle, different perspective. And that's how life needs to be lived. Never having just that one perspective on everything, because life is not a one size fits all. That's for sure. And either is God's wisdom really either. It's applied differently in different times of our lives and different experiences of our lives. We don't always know, how do I handle this? What do I do with this? Well, the book of Proverbs is a good place to go to. And you could read one every day kind of thing and just take it in. And you will find repetition, like what he said about this subject in chapter 2 is repeated again in chapter 17 or whatever. But the kings of the earth knew this wisdom. They were impressed by it. Many were impressed by Solomon's wealth. Unfortunately, Solomon didn't always listen to God's truth and God's ways. And so even in all of that wisdom, he made very, very foolish choices that would not be good for him and not be good for Israel either. Again, we need to, I always think of Psalm 46:10, where we're told, be still and know that I am God. Literally, cease your struggle, cease your striving, cease your trying to figure this all out on your own, and just listen and know that I'm God. And his word helps us in that. Always go to the word, always go to his Proverbs, not popular wisdom, which is not really wisdom at all oftentimes. But listen to him and his word. Blessings to you today.